a shot of Bailey's.
How would you feel if you or maybe someone close to you experienced COVID 19? In today's episode, we will be talking to a couple who both experienced getting the virus. They will share with us their experience and how they were able to survive that. So, folks, help me in welcoming Katrina and Brayan Alejo. Hi, guys.
Hello, Bailey.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Bailey.
Doing great. We're resting, especially after the holiday season. So we're just chilling at home, resting.
All right. So, my first question, what kind of precautions did you guys have before you guys had the virus?
Well, as for me, because I was going to work then, before I got the virus. So when I leave the house and then when I come back from work, I make sure to take a bath first and then put all my clothes in a plastic bag so it doesn't get or it doesn't hindi siya mahalo doon sa mga iba pang clothes. So those were the things that I was doing aside from, of course, the usual wearing masks and then washing your hands as frequent as you can and then using alcohol. If I remember it right, during that time, face shield was not yet a thing eh. Parang we were wearing masks pero hindi pa masyado nire-require yung face shield. So those are the usual measures that aside from drinking vitamins, of course.
Right. Pero hindi naman kayo yung, other families kasi medyo exaggerated na, they really have separate set of utensils or obviously pag uwi, di ba, bawal muna i-kiss yung kids. Ganon din ba kayo?
Well, we made sure to... Go ahead, babe. Sorry.
For the utensils naman, no. Pero yun nga, ako kasi I stay at home because I'm pregnant at during that time. So, of course, yung mga kids before sila lapitan ni Brian, hindi muna mag-shower, mag-refreshen up muna siya, shower ganyan, and then hindi agad lalapit basta sa kids bago siya hindi mo siya lalapit pag galing niya sa office.
Yeah. So after na niya mag-shower, dun lang siya pwede lapitan ng kids.
Yes.
And
doon lang siya makakalapit.
So Kikay, like you mentioned, you were pregnant during the start of this pandemic. So did you take any different precautionary measures aside from what Brian had mentioned earlier? Pero magkakaiba ikaw na ginawa?
Binigyan din naman ako ng OB ko of course ng vitamins and yun nga, alcohol, frequent hand washing with soap. And I stayed at home kasi during that time because bawal pa yung mga lumabas-labas, especially for pregnant women eh. So even sa office, hindi muna pwede. So I stayed with the kids lang at home.
Yeah, kasi I think during that time, people didn't know yet kung okay lang ba talaga or anong effect sa pregnant women.
Yes.
All right, so now let's go to the time that you guys had the virus. What were the initial symptoms na naramdaman nyo or nakita nyo?
Well, when I got the virus, it was the worst timing. I have to say, because I started feeling my throat itching and parang sore siya. Sometimes even if you don't see your throat, you feel if it's sore, diba? Or pag namamaga siya. So I was feeling that, but I wasn't feeling anything. I'm not feverish or I don't have body pains.
Okay.
Nothing like that. So it was normal except for that uncomfortable feeling sa throat. And the worst timing, I say, because we were in the hospital during that time. So Kat just gave birth.
Yeah.
I think it was our third day in the hospital. So since I felt the symptom, and pretty much we are bombarded by news of COVID cases left and right, in symptoms related to COVID. So when I was feeling that, medyo kinakabahan na talaga ako. I was very comfortable, or I was confident that I was doing all the precautionary measures not to get the virus.
Right.
But still, since I was in the hospital, in my head, my risk parang na double siya, or na magnify yung risk ko because I was in the hospital. Though the hospital we were at during that time, they declared that they were COVID-free, meaning they weren't treating any COVID-related or patients, or walang mga COVID patients.
Yeah.
So, yun lang. It started with the sore throat.
Yeah.
But it was a tolerable one, something you can ignore. You can go on with your day. I didn't have problems eating. I didn't have problems drinking. It was just uncomfortable.
So was it just itchy, or was it, sometimes when you're about to get a cold, it's hard to swallow? Was it like that?
It was itchy, and you feel that your throat is always dry. My tolerance sa pain is very, very high. So maybe it was painful, but it didn't bother me at all. I didn't have problems eating and drinking. Third day sa hospital, so we were gonna go out the following day because that was we were gonna come back home na. So we took care of the bill, the usual. So maybe we left the hospital a little afternoon.
Okay.
Siguro mga around 1 or 2 p.m. if I remember it right. And then we bought medicines, everything that we needed for Clay, our new baby during that time. And then when I got back home, I took a bath. Siyempre, coming from the hospital, now the three of us will be reunited with our kids sa bahay na. So syempre, just like how I do it every time I go to the office, I made sure to take a bath before I interact with kids in the house.
Right. So what was your... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say we were having dinner when I kind of felt na parang magkalalagnatin ako. You sometimes feel if you're gonna have a fever, parang meron kang the pre-fever feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's making sense, pero ganun yung nararamdaman ko. Parang mapipredict mo na magkakalagnat ka.
So, no naisip mo na para ka magkakalagnat, no na-feel mo na yun, were you already like worried? Were you anxious already? Like, do I have the virus, or this just, any ordinary fever?
I'm really
what
thankful
was
that
going
I
on
had
in
the
your
presence
mind?
of mind to isolate myself. So, I took a bath and we were having dinner. And then, yun nga, naramdaman ko na magkakalagnat ako. I told them that I will be isolating myself inside the room and then would be monitoring my temperature because I feel like I'm gonna have a fever. So I stayed in the room with no one else. We only had 2 rooms doon sa unit namin, sa condo unit namin. So our usual setup is that room is for our eldest, Lius and Kiel.
Yeah.
And then we were gonna stay in the other room with Clay, who was just on 3rd day old pa lang siya during that time, or 4 days pa lang siya.
Yeah.
So I isolated myself. I even brought out all the things that our kids, yung stuff ng mga kids namin, damitan nila, everything that they own inside that room. Nilabas ko siya kasi pag nagkasakit ako, I don't want them to go inside and get stuff and then they will be near me or exposed to me. So I did that. And then siguro monitoring my temperature all throughout the night. I checked at around 10, wala naman. Then maybe a little after midnight, mga 1, wala pa rin. Tapos at 4 a.m., nagising ako, I checked my temperature, may lagnat na ako.
And what was the temperature? I mean, was it really high? Kasi diba they're saying for you to be a COVID patient, like parang ideally, or diba, well, maybe not ideally, pero diba like it should be really high.
Yeah, it was 38.3 if I remember it right. And I'm doing most of the talking kasi ako talaga yung unang nagka-symptom sa aming dalawa.
Yeah.
Although we were together in the hospital for 4 days, almost 4 days, I was the one who got sick and felt, the itchy throat and the fever.
Right.
My wife, she never had symptoms aside from losing her smell.
And smell, yeah. Pero question lang, Bryce. So when you were in the hospital, were you also in and out of the room? Kasi diba, like sabi ng hospital, there's no COVID patient check-in at the hospital. But because, visitors come and go, they could have the symptoms and the hospital wouldn't really know for sure. When you guys were there, were you going in and out of the room? And maybe, siguro to buy food or something like that? Or talaga bang nasa room lang kayo?
Um, I waited for them in the room kasi during delivery, ako pa lang mag-isa dun sa room eh. So while I was waiting, I actually went to a nearby grocery to buy stuff that we will be needing for our stay, for the duration of our stay in the hospital.
Yeah.
So like food, toiletries, everything. So I did that. And I remember also eating at a nearby restaurant at the hospital. Pero yun na lang yung huling labas ko because when the baby was delivered and then they were brought out from the recovery room to our room, hindi na ako lumabas ulit.
Okay.
Because I made sure we got everything that we needed for our stay there at the hospital. So we weren't really going out.
Right. And the doctors and nurses, I know naman na it's different, diba? Parang different doctors and nurses for COVID ward or COVID patients and different, kumbaga hindi sila exposed technically dapat, diba?
Yes. We were in kumbaga yung hospital na pinanganakan ni Kat actually. Although they are a general hospital, over the years, somehow parang most of their patients are those who are giving birth and kids that are, needing medical attention at the hospital.
So parang nothing serious, hindi dapat nga yung mga COVID patients.
Yes, that's right.
So it's possible talaga that you could have gotten the virus maybe at the grocery or maybe at the restaurant. We wouldn't really know, obviously, right?
Yeah.
My next question, Bri, is what was your reaction nung na-confirm na? And I guess also, please walk us through how you were able to confirm that you had the virus. Did you undergo the swab test? And then how long bago mo nakuha yung results? And yun nga, what was your initial reaction when it was confirmed?
Yep. So when I had the fever, I was thinking in my head, iniisip ko, there's a possibility that I may have the virus. But at the same time, I was also thinking na maybe it's, uber fatigue or me being or not having enough rest. Kasi syempre, when you have a newborn, every 2 hours gising ka, ganyan. So I was trying to find out what is it that's causing the fever. At the same time, I guess we're lucky that our employer gives us the benefit of being tested whenever we have symptoms.
Right.
So I reported to our COVID care team that I was feeling these symptoms. And then 2 days after, they gave me a schedule for the testing. So I went there and got a swab test or the PCR. And then 3 days after, I got the result.
And yun na nga. So nung nakuha mo na yung result 3 days after, what was your initial reaction?
As I was waiting for the results or the result to come out, naka-isolate na ako, and then I forgot to mention na Kat and the kids, I asked them to go to her parents' house muna so I can totally isolate myself. Kasi syempre, we only had one bathroom sa condo eh. So even if I'm isolated when I'm sleeping, when I go to the restroom, it's the same restroom or CR that they will be using if they need to.
Right.
So kumbaga, I really wanted them to be out of the house. for their safety. I was really, really worried for our newborn or for Clay.
Yes.
So while I was down with fever and waiting for my test, I was already alone in the condo. So when the result came out, hindi naman, I wasn't down. I was expecting it kasi from the time I got the fever, I think it was 3 days after pa bago ako na-test. I already don't have a fever na when I got the test result. I was feeling better when I got the result. So I wasn't worried about me not being healthy anymore. But I was more worried about me, baka nahawaan ko yung wife ko, yung mga anak ko. So I was really anxious about that part na baka nakahawa ako because I got the virus. But for myself, I wasn't worrying anymore because the days of waiting made me feel better. Wala na nga akong fever when the COVID result came out.
Okay. So parang when you got the results, parang siguro ano na lang, no? Parang so tama nga. Tama nga yun na feel ko na I had the virus. Pero while waiting, I guess, were you like, how was your mental health? Kasi I'm thinking, kung ako yon, although ako syempre kakaiba ako, medyo parang madali ako, mag-worry and all. Kung ako yon, I would be worried already. Pero ikaw, how did you cope with that? Especially, you were by yourself, your family, your newborn, your wife, and your kids were all somewhere else, at your in-laws' house. So how did you feel?
When there was no results yet, I was actually sleeping better kasi my focus was to get better. But when I got the result, that's when anxiety kicked in.
Uh-oh.
Kasi alam ko na kung ano yung sakit ko eh. So, and I know how contagious it is, and you hear news of, thousands and thousands of cases day after day. So, sobrang worried talaga ako na baka nahawa ako, such that for 2 days after the result came out, hindi ako nakatulog, not even an hour of sleep.
Oh my.
So I just lie down in bed, do everything possible to get some sleep. Kung ano na ginawa ko, nag-search ako ng mga meditation exercises, breathing exercises, even listen to raindrops. That's good for 3 hours. Hindi talaga ako makatulog. And I know I wasn't sleeping because after the music I was listening to is done, malalaman ko na tapos na siya. Kasi namamatay na. So, I was restless. Hindi talaga ako makatulog.
Yeah.
And after 2 days of not really getting sleep, I even went to the hospital, to the emergency section of the hospital because I wanted to be given medication.
Drive mo pa sarili mo to the hospital on your own? Kahit na without
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So, alam ko dapat di ako lumabas eh. Pero I was worried na if I don't get sleep, I will start feeling sick again.
Yeah.
So, my intention really was, I wanted for the hospital to give me anything that will make me fall asleep.
Okay. So,
Iniisip ko nga yung mga sedatives, anything that will give me rest kasi hindi talaga ako makatulog.
right. So when you went to the hospital to ask for someone to give you sleeping pills or something, hindi dineclare mo ba? Kasi diba like you
Yes.
do the triage or whatever?
Yeah, I did. Prior to going there, I actually called the hospital to tell them the situation.
Okay, that's good. All right. Now, you said, diba, parang when you got the results, okay ka na eh, wala ka na fever, pero dun nag-kick in yung anxiety. Now, my next question is, how did you now, help yourself to recover faster?
Doon sa mga nababasa ko, I was supposed to get some sunlight. Kaya lang nga, because I'm doing home quarantine, I didn't want to expose anybody else. So, the only, I was getting sunlight through the windows sa unit namin. I was eating healthy, lots of fruits, doubling up on vitamin C's. Tapos, water. So, everything that I was doing, syempre, I'm reading it off somewhere, like yung mga COVID tips.
Yeah.
I even did they call it suob. I'm not sure if you're very familiar with that. It's like putting your face near a
Tama ba?
steam.
Oo.
Parang steam bath siya, parang ganon.
Ito ba yung...
So you put hot water in a container and then you get yourself a blanket or a towel.
Okay.
So you can put your face and get all the steam coming out of that hot water. So I did that twice a day when I wake up in the morning and before going to sleep.
Para malabas yung parang bacteria or virus. Tama ba? Yun ba yung purpose nun?
Although I didn't feel any hindi ako nagkaubo, hindi rin ako nagkaroon ng shortness of breath. Wala akong problem sa breathing and cough. So when I was reading sa internet, ang purpose kasi nun is so it declogs your throat or your lungs kung sakaling may cough ka. Although wala naman ako nun, nakatulong daw siya doon sa mga ibang COVID patients eh. So I was watching mga testimonials and how to do it from people who had the virus earlier than I did. So kumbaga from their experience, I was learning. So ginawa ko din siya kasi I had nothing to do.
Right.
I avoided watching TV kasi nga nagkakaroon ako ng problema sa pagtulog. I didn't want to even wake myself up by watching or binge watching on something. So
Yes.
wala talaga akong ginagawa kundi tumulala at gawin yung mga measures na yon to help me get better.
Pero during this time that you had the virus and you were on your road to recovery, was this also the same time that Kikay had the virus?
8 days after my tama ba ako, Mami? 8 days after the symptoms, nagkaroon ka ng you lost your sense of smell.
Yes, I think after a week of your quarantine, yun, napansin ko na all of a sudden I can't smell anything. I started smelling Vicks, vinegar, and I can't smell anything, as in zero. So from that time, I know I also had the virus na, even if hindi na ako magpa-swab. But of course, nagpa-PCR pa rin ako, and then it came out positive then, because when I lost my sense of smell and taste, actually, it's I think I don't have any cough, colds or fever eh. As in talagang yun lang, nawala lang bigla yung pang-amoy ko and panlasa.
So yun lang yung symptoms mo talaga, loss of taste and smell.
Yes, yun lang talaga.
Ikaw naman, Kikay, so when you started experiencing that, na you couldn't smell anything anymore, you couldn't taste anything, what was going through your mind? I mean, especially because you were breastfeeding your baby.
Yes, actually, nung nawalan ako ng pang-amoy, wala na. Umiyak na lang ako, as in, parang, ang una ko talagang naisip kasi si Clay, baka nahawaan ko.
Yeah.
Because hindi naman siya nahiwalay sa akin the entire time. Yun nga, you're correct. Nagbe-breastfeed ako, so hindi naman din ako nagfe-face mask, of course.
Yeah.
Kasi hindi ko naman alam na I had the virus all along. So, yun, iyak lang ako ng iyak, and then nag-quarantine na rin ako after parang the day na nalaman ko na nawalan ako ng pang-amoy.
Pero you guys also think of, I don't know, getting in touch with a pediatrician to inform the doctor na, if you have the virus, so do we need to have the baby checked?
Actually, hindi ko na yun naisip eh. It didn't cross my mind na, because ang gusto ko lang talaga is mag-quarantine na ako para hindi na ako ma-expose sa mga kids, because nung time na yun, wala, parang nablanko na yung isip mo na you're just crying and parang you don't want to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Because parang, kasi it's parang nalaman ko yun 3 days ata, magbe-birthday na ako. So I was hoping na I was hoping na mag-negative din si Brian and then magkasama na kami ng birthday ko. So, yun. Wala. Iyak lang talaga ako ng iyak.
I would do the same. You know me, I would be crying pag nagkaroon.
I know. So, parang wala ka nang maisip. All I want to do back then is to get away from anyone. Talaga na makapag-quarantine immediately. And of course, yung mga kids ko. Kasi ang hirap malayo sa newborn eh.
Exactly.
Siyempre, di ba, parang, and then, of course, postpartum, kicks in. Alam mo yun, yung
Ano?
isip ka ng isip, iyak ka ng iyak, di ba?
Okay. Nung nag-recover na kayong dalawa, talaga bang bumalik na lahat? Like, bumalik na yung sense of smell, of taste, ganun, somewhere. Yung iba, until now, months after they've had the virus, wala pa rin silang pang taste or pang smell. Pero, wala na sila ng virus. Kumbaga, para na siyang naging, permanent yung nangyari sa kanila na nawalan na ng sense, taste, and smell. Ikaw ba, Mary?
I think sa akin, kasi after 10 days, bumalik na eh. Naunang bumalik yung panlasa ko, siguro mga few days lang, mga 3 to 4 days. Pero yung sense of smell ko, after 10 days, bumalik din siya.
So medyo mas matagal pala yun. Did you guys add any other precautionary steps para make sure that you or your children or your family members won't have it?
Actually, ganun pa rin eh. We are still doing the same thing even prior to getting the virus. So, every time we need to step out of the house for work or maybe for errands, for groceries, although we have really limited for the instances that we have to go out. Prior to us getting the virus, ako na lang yung nag-grocery and I made sure that I will only do it once a week.
Mm-hmm.
If possible nga, pwedeng once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Para, syempre, less yung exposure mo sa tao. So, nilimit namin yung paglabas and every time we need to go out, when we come back, we made sure to take a bath, change clothes. Tapos, nagkalat ang alcohol dito sa bahay.
Yeah.
Meron sa kusina, meron sa sala, tapos meron pa sa kwarto.
Mm-mm.
And we just put alcohol in our hands every time and we were teaching the kids to do the same.
Okay.
Tapos vitamin. So wala namang nagbago. When we're inside the house, we're not wearing masks. We're using the same utensils. Wala namang dinagdag.
Okay. So that's good na wala nang added step. Kasi diba yung iba parang struggle na magdadagdag pa ng added precautionary measure. At least you guys, parang normal na na alcohol lang parate, diba? Now, my last question is, what can you advise the others? I think especially for those who are not taking this seriously.
What advice I will give someone who may not be taking the virus seriously and maybe in doubt that it even exists, that it's really real. And though me and my wife were lucky kasi yung symptoms namin, ako mild lang, it went away just after a few days. And my wife, wala nga siya. She didn't feel sick at all aside from losing her sense of smell and taste. We were lucky kasi ganun lang yung nangyari sa amin. But we know of people who are not as lucky as we are. We know of someone who even died because of the virus. Or maybe because of the virus. Hindi naman na madedeclare ngayon. Kumbaga, there's really that layer of privacy and information not being available to us because of possibly the fear of discrimination and all. But we know of people who had to go through ICUs for weeks, who will be billed by millions in the hospital because of the virus.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What does that tell us? So it's really out there. Take the precautionary measures or the protocols seriously. Now, if you're comfortable that you will be able to beat it, then good. But you also have to be mindful na at home, you may be able to expose your parents who may be in their 60s already. You may be able to expose kids who may have, weaker immune systems, and family members, relatives, friends who may be, battling diseases that would make them more vulnerable to the virus than you. So think about all these things and not just think about yourself. So you'll feel the responsibility to, take all these protocols seriously.
Exactly. Very well said, if I may say. Some people, that's right, they don't think about themselves. They think they're strong enough or their immune system is strong enough to handle it. But it's really about other people that you're exposed to. And especially, you're right, your parents or the senior citizens in your family, and then especially also the kids. Very well said, like I said. So thank you very much for that, Brian and Kikay. And thank you for sharing your experience with our listeners. And I hope they learned something from this. For now, I just want to wish you both good health, especially this new year. And that you guys continue, to full recovery talaga. I know you guys are okay now, you guys are working, but, to boost up sana pa your immune system. So thank you very much, Brian and Kikay.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bailey. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, you guys. Thanks. I was truly inspired by that conversation with Kat or Kikay Alejo and Brayan Alejo. So I hope you guys got inspired by that too. So please do take care of yourselves, do boost your immune system, and of course, keep that faith. Let me know what you think about this episode. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please do let me know. Comment on our official Facebook page, A Shot of Baileys, or do email me at ashotofbaileys@gmail.com. And like I always say, life is short, so go ahead and get drunk on life and take a shot of Baileys.
Hey, do you want to start your own podcast too? Check out Anchor FM. You can create your own podcast from your phone or desktop, and you don't have to worry about distributing your podcast because they will take care of that for you. Our podcast is at Anchor FM server, and they're the ones distributing it to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., all for free. So what are you waiting for? Download the app now or visit anchor.fm. The beats that you're hearing in the background is courtesy of DJ Ray Dava. Go ahead and check him out on Facebook and Instagram.